A long habit of not thinking a thing wrong gives it a superficial appearance of being right, and raises at first a formidable outcry in defense of custom. But the tumult soon subsides. Time makes more converts than reason. Thomas Paine. We hear this term common sense as if it's this virtue that we should all hold. It is the rally cry for people who do not wish to dive too deep into issues and cower behind simplistic thoughts. They do not wish to invest the time and energy into understanding the information being presented, but rely on sort of a shield that paints the presenter as overcomplicating issues that are not that complicated. I deplore the use of the word common sense. It reduces everything to this simplistic worldview that is built upon generalized observations and not deep thought. It relies on time to establish its credibility and outright rejects any form of reasoning. What is common sense? According to Merriam-Webster, common sense is defined as sound and prudent judgment based on a simple perception of the situation or facts. The key word here is perception. Perception is incredibly subjective, or based in theories of experience. The way one interprets data is influenced by the nature versus nurture concept. Nature refers to the biological prescribed tendencies and capabilities individuals possess, which may unfold themselves throughout the course of life, while nurture refers to various external or environmental factors to which an individual is exposed from conception to death. Both of these concepts have a massive impact on how your senses and brain interpret data. There's no way to know what one individual perceives is exactly what another perceives, but through discussion, we can arrive at a commonly understood concept between them. We generally never have these discussions though, because most people share a sense of understanding through the vehicle of language. When one says tree, the other will generally have an idea of what one is talking about. They may not know what type of tree, color, size, if it's real or cartoon, and a plethora of other descriptive ideas. It's kind of like Plato's ideas of forms. I do not need to know every detail of that tree in order to continue the conversation, unless the details are pertinent to the bigger idea being expressed. We generally have this idea of a tree that allows us to interpret the word tree into meaning for our consciousness. Now, back to the definition of common sense. A simple perception of a situation or facts leaves an entire world of possibilities. To demonstrate how simple perception could have demonstrable effects, I'm going to play a video about a kidnapping prank gone wrong.
I'm Patty Mayo, and today I'm here with my buddy Justin, and we're doing a social experiment to see how easy it is to kidnap an 18-year-old.
Oh shit, that's close. Alright, hold on, alright.
Wait till she gets out.
Are you going maps down already?
Yeah, wait till she gets out. Wait till she gets out.
Alright,
She's getting out. Alright, pull up.
yeah, it's a purple tank top! Go! Go!
You're gonna listen. You're gonna listen good.
Hello.
Hey, boss.
Hi, Pat.
Guess who that is?
Mom?
The man right there at the end is acting on common sense. He saw someone being kidnapped and is reacting to the situation in a justified manner. If that man had a gun, the situation would have been much different. When I took my concealed carry license class, they had a video in which someone did pull out a gun on a college kidnapping prank and fired into the van. No one was seriously hurt, but this demonstrates why basing some decisions on a simple interpretation of the facts can have terrible consequences. Common sense from a philosophical perspective. Epistemological philosophy school of common sense was birthed as a means to counter the growth of skepticism and idealism produced by Hume, and based upon the ideas of Locke. Thomas Reid set out to vindicate the common sense, or natural judgment of mankind by which the real existence of both subject and object is held to be directly known. He stated, "All knowledge and all science must be built upon principles that are self-evident, and of such principles every man who has common sense is a competent judge." He argued that if it cannot be proved that there is any real external world or continuously existing mind, the true conclusion is not that these have no existence or are unknowable, but that our consciousness of them is an ultimate fact, which neither needs nor is capable of proof, but is itself the ground of all proof. The basic principle of this thought is, I can likewise conceive an individual object that really exists, such as St. Paul's Church in London. I have an idea of it. I can conceive it. The immediate object of this conception is 400 miles distant, and I have no reason to think it acts upon me or that I act upon it. The school taught that every person had ordinary experiences that provided intuitively certain assurances of A. the existence of the self, B. the existence of real objects that could be seen and felt, and C. certain first principles upon which sound morality and religious beliefs could be established. The philosophical perspective is more complicated than how the layman uses it. It sets up a defense of being able to explain the world without having to know much about it. That there are certain things in life that cannot be explained through reason. Therefore, they logically conclude that these are the principles of common sense. It is based upon a form of naturalism, and it can be deduced into 4 basic precepts. 1. The objects of acts of perception are external objects, that is, mind-independent, spatially located entities. 2. The necessary and sufficient condition for perceiving an external object is that the object cause in one a conception therefore and an immediate non-inferential belief about it. 3. We human beings are made that, in perception, the external object causes a conception of and an immediate belief about itself by way of causing a sensation, which in turn suggests the conception and immediate belief. 4. The sensation may cause, and often does not in fact cause, the conception of belief without one's being sufficiently attentive to the sensation for a belief about it to be formed into one. This form of Scottish realism greatly influenced conservative religious thought. It helped bring upon a surface-level understanding of Scripture that many people follow today. It influenced people like Thomas Jefferson and John Adams. Common sense in today. Common sense has become the scapegoat for people who do not wish to dig deeper into the meaning of things. It hasn't fallen far from its philosophical roots, but it's rarely ever referred to as a philosophy. It is more used as an insult towards those that value education, which is rightly so since it was birthed to rival the rise of skepticism. However, a lot of its meaning has now been lost now that it's a virtue signaling word. It mirrors the idea that some people's feels are more valid than actual study. The common argument that educational theories don't work in the real world, or they're not as useful as getting in and rolling up your own sleeves. I hear this word mostly used in right-wing circles. Men have penises and women have vaginas. That's just common sense. Deregulate businesses to unleash their economic power. That's just common sense. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. That's just common sense. I have free will because I can choose between A or B. It's just common sense. The problem here is that many of those statements are incredibly complex, and a common sense understanding leads you to false conclusions. In a world in which information is literally at your fingertips, how could anyone find the term common sense to be a virtue? It follows the same thought about empirical data and faith. How could anyone use faith when the data is right in front of them? I hate the term common sense as it's used colloquially. It strips the deep thought behind the actual philosophy and degrades it as an excuse for holding on to simplified beliefs. Common sense is not a virtue. Common sense is nothing to be celebrated. It is something we should actively shun and try to push people towards taking the hard answer instead of the easy one. Many people hide behind this term in order to not engage with the actual idea. It's a deflection to avoid further conversation. It gives those something to hide behind without losing any skin. I mean, how can you argue against, well, it's just common sense? Replying to this either makes you look like someone in an ivory tower, or you risk the perception that you think the other person is too stupid to understand the concepts. It's a lose-lose situation. But does that mean we should stray away from engaging with the topic? No. We should not continue to allow people to hide behind this facade. It is our duty as citizens of this country to correct wrongly held opinions in order to safeguard our political system.
This sign has been up for almost 44 years. And in 43 and a half years, this sign did not represent discrimination. It did not represent injustice. It represented common sense and decency and modesty. Today, that's all out the window. Today, this is our new Confederate flag, and it has to come down because it represents discrimination and injustice.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Seriously. If that's what common sense brings us towards, I don't want nothing to do with it. Seriously, fuck people like that. And if you liked the video, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit that thumbs up or thumbs down, whatever. And if you would like to have a conversation with me, comment, send me a message, tweet at me. I'm always open for discussion. Anyways, stay safe, guys.